When you see that Jimmy Kimmel is gone because of that, does that even hit harder home to you?
Look, I'm honestly, this is very concerning. I think first, Jimmy Kimmel is a late night host. He's a comedian. We have the First Amendment in this country. Folks have the right to say what's on their mind, and certainly in a monologue on a late night show. And I think anyone that's going to listen and watch that clip, I mean, it's pretty clear that this is a direct attack on free speech. And it's one thing for all of us to unite and talk about political violence and denouncing political violence. It's another now to target people who you may not agree their opinion with, or that you don't like what they have to say. What's happening right now in these attacks on universities, attacks on people in their job because we don't like what they say, or we're policing every word. This is an extreme example now, and another direct attack on the media. And I think one thing is important to be said at this moment.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has been, in a systematic way, attacking the media, causing harm, impacting the way people believe and interact with news gathering, what people are saying. And he continues and continues to tear media and media institutions down.
Hey yo, what's up guys? So leftists and the mainstream media are freaking out after Jimmy Kimmel pretty much got fired from ABC. Here's what Variety had to say about this. Disney's ABC said it would take Jimmy Kimmel's popular late night show off its schedule indefinitely after one of the biggest owners of TV stations in the US, Nexstar Media, said it would preempt airings of the program following remarks the host made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Okay, so this is pretty huge, and I'm going to play the monologue of what Jimmy Kimmel said that pretty much got him fired. But before that, I'm going to play you a montage of what the mainstream media has been saying about Charlie Kirk's shooter, Tyler Robinson, and the narrative that they've been trying to push all week, because it kind of ties into what Jimmy Kimmel said in his monologue.
There was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative.
Who shot Charlie Kirk?
A guy from Utah who was raised in a Christian family, who was a 22-year-old
guy
white
described
dude. He wasn't
Destiny.
trans. He
No,
didn't have
Destiny.
a trans girlfriend. He didn't have any trans influences. He didn't have any trans bullets. Yeah, I'm sorry. You guys were wrong on all of that.
Meet Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson. He is a white, Christian, conservative, Republican male with a gun again.
That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
Honestly, Scott Jennings has got to be the only sane individual working at CNN. That said, this was a whole mainstream media push all week. They were trying to paint the shooter as a MAGA supporter, a Trump supporter, even to the point where they would, Photoshop old t-shirts and add a Trump logo on it. Like, how deranged do you have to be to do something like that? Anyways, let's take a look at what Jimmy Kimmel said in his opening monologue a couple nights ago that pretty much got him fired.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. There's demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay? And it didn't just happen once.
When I heard it, I was in the midst of, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects that would design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, he was dead. Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, And I said, Dad.
And then we installed the most beautiful chandelier.
Am I the only one that finds it weird that they would install a laugh track at that point in the clip? Like, I don't know who the producer was. Like, I assume it's a laugh track, but, not the audience. But who knows? You got deranged leftists in the audience. They might find that part funny. Anyways, at the very beginning of the clip where Jimmy Kimmel implies that the shooter was a MAGA supporter, this is what got him in hot water, even when all the evidence was pointing to the shooter being a leftist. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that the shooter was a liberal. On top of that, how many conservatives would mess with a transformer? And now people on the left and the mainstream media are blaming this all on Trump, calling this censorship. And tomorrow the machine is going to be pushing that narrative. Oh, Trump is authoritarian. Oh, he's a Nazi. He's a fascist. He's Hitler. So on, so on. All that same old bullshit. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, he's one who actually threatened ABC with regulatory action. So here he is in this interview with Benny Johnson. And let's hear his points as to why he did what he did.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick. And I've been very clear from the moment that I have become chairman of the FCC. I want to reinvigorate the public interest. And what people don't understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead. Well, look, I think what you said there strikes me as a very reasonable, minimal step that can be taken. I mean, obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And again, we may ultimately be called to be a judge on that.